everyone, it's Sapphira. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be sharing with you some experiences I've had which were pretty embarrassing at the time, but hopefully will be amusing in the retelling. So let's get started. So this first story that I'm going to tell, it happened when I was about 14 and it happened on the bus that I used to take to and from school. So a few things about this bus. Firstly, it was very crowded, so a lot of the times the seats would all be full, so you'd have to stand. And when you were standing, it wasn't cool to hold on to anything, you had to just kind of balance. So that's kind of an important part of the story. The other thing was I didn't have that many friends who took the bus with me, and on that particular day I was just by myself. And also this bus, it used to go over a humpbacked bridge. That's a bridge that's really curved, and when it did, there's quite a big jolt, so it's quite easy to lose your balance when you go over the bridge. This is another important point. So one day I was on the bus and I think I was going home, which is a blessing, because I guess if I was going to school everybody would immediately hear this story and it might have stayed around a bit longer than it did. So I was on my way home and I was standing up. The seats were all full. I was standing near the front of the bus where there's a luggage rack, and there's two seats behind me and two boys sitting in those seats. So the bus is going along and I'm standing there not holding on to anything because I want to be cool, fighting a losing battle, but anyway. So I was standing there and then the bus went over the humpback bridge and there was a big jolt and I lost my balance. And it happened very quickly. So there was a jolt and I kind of went backwards, my legs kind of gave way and I just like sat down. But unfortunately I sat right in the lap of one of the boys who was sitting behind me. So there I was, sitting in his lap, and oh, all his friends were there and everybody saw and everybody was laughing. But as soon as I could, I got up and I held on to the luggage rack, not making that mistake again. I held on and I was just looking out the window very hard and I just pretended to myself that nothing happened. Nobody was laughing. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. But I was so mortified. And you know, when you're 14, you're very self-conscious. And it was one of those things that used to haunt me, like I'd wake up in the middle of the night and remember it and feel so embarrassed. And this has happened until quite recently, I think. I mean, if it happened now, I think I'd probably just laugh. And I should have just laughed then, really, but you know how it is when you're young, and I didn't have any friends with me, so. He was nice about it, the boy, though. Like, I think he kind of pretended nothing happened as well. He didn't tease me about it or anything. Oh, but the thing was, because it happened so quickly and I just sat down so neatly, it looked like I did it on purpose. But I don't know. Do you think he thought I did it on purpose? We never did anything about it if he did. Anyway, that's the end of that story. On to the next one. So the next story, I guess I was probably about the same age, and this time it was on a school trip. So it was a school trip to Italy, and we were visiting Mount Vesuvius. So we took a coach part way up the mountain, and there was a rest stop where you could get out and get a drink and go to the loo. So that's what I did. I went to the loo. So I went to the loo and then I went to go out of the loo. So I went to unlock a cubicle, but it wasn't really unlocking. Well, this happens to me quite a bit because I'm not very strong, and I often have a bit of difficulty with locks or like opening bottles or this kind of thing. So I was just trying and trying. I kept trying and I kept trying and I kept trying and it still wasn't going. So I thought, I think this is broken. I don't know what to do. I had to look. There's a window behind me and I thought, could I get out of this window? I was very shy. I still am pretty shy, and I don't like causing a fuss. So I kind of wanted to deal with this in my own way, but I had to look out the window. It's quite a sheer drop because we were on a mountain. So I thought, no, I have to abandon that idea. Tried the lock some more, still not going. I thought, what am I going to do? So I knocked on the door and I said in my little voice, Amy. Amy was one of the girls on the trip with me. Amy, are you there? And she replied, she said, Sapphira, is that you? And I'm like, yes, I'm stuck in the toilet. And she's like, what? And I said, I'm stuck, the lock doesn't work. And she was like, oh, what should I do? So I said, oh, well, try opening it from that side. So she tried, and of course that didn't work. And she's like, what do I do now? And I said, can you go and get the teacher? So she went to get the teacher, and the teacher tried, it still wasn't working. And meanwhile I can hear like some murmuring, and I think people beginning to gather around the toilet cubicle. So the teacher said, it's not working, I'm going to go and get the owner and see what he says. So the owner came along and had a go and couldn't get it open. Meanwhile the crowd's getting louder, and then he went off to get his toolbox, and he ended up, I guess, taking the door completely off the hinges. So he took the door and like removed it, and then I stepped out of the loo, like into this crowd of people all looking at me. And yeah, that was pretty embarrassing, and it became a bit of a running joke on the school trip as well. So every time I went to the loo, people were like, oh, make sure you don't get stuck again. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing, but quite funny. Not as funny as the first story though, but anyway, there's another funny story coming up, so now let's talk about the third story. So the last story that I'll tell you today, this is something that happened to me very recently, just a couple of months ago. So last month I went to New Zealand to visit my cousin and his family there. So before I went, I obviously would need some New Zealand dollars. So I haven't exchanged money in Japan for a long time, because I tend to just go between Japan and England back and forth, so not really in need of any foreign currency. But anyway, I went along to the biggest nearby branch of my bank, because I thought they would probably have it. And so I went there, and there's a foreign exchange counter. So I asked them, I wanted to get some New Zealand dollars, please. And they said, oh, sorry, we don't have them here. We've got Korean won and something, but we don't have New Zealand dollars. So try the other bank. You just go out of here and you go down the road and down the steps, and you turn left, you turn right, and you do something else. And I was like, okay. Now I don't know why I do this, but I listen to people giving me directions. I don't take them in, and then I just go, okay, and then off I go, just to look for it by myself. But I thought I probably knew the place she was talking about, because I'd seen it on my way. So I thought that's probably the place she means. So off I went to the place which I thought was the other bank. So I went in there, and there was a lady on the desk, and I said, I want to exchange some New Zealand dollars, please. And she did give me a bit of a funny look, but I thought, yeah, maybe my Japanese is bad, or I don't know, she's not used to foreigners or something. She gave me a number and told me to wait, so I just waited and waited, and then my number was called, and I went up to another lady. She's at a desk, like a booth. It's a desk and a computer and everything, and she said, how can I help you today? And I said, I'd like to exchange some New Zealand dollars, please. I mean, I'd like to get some New Zealand dollars, please. And she said, oh, shouldn't you go to a bank then? And I said, is this not a bank? And she said, no, this is an insurance company. And I said, oh. But she was very kind. She laughed about it. She had a sense of humour, so we had a little laugh about that. And then she actually went and printed me off a map to get to another bank, which also didn't have New Zealand dollars. But anyway, that's another story. I did eventually get them. So yeah, these things can still happen no matter how old you are. But I'm glad she was a nice lady and could laugh along with me. I hope you found my stories amusing, and please tell me if anything similar has happened to you, because it would help me, especially the lap sitting story, because I'm not sure how over that I am. So please let me know your embarrassing experiences too, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.